you have to abide by rules that you are going to hold us to account. But some of you want us to break it. Reality. So sometimes, because we have to say no, you have something now called a grievance. And there are many grievances out there. Many people who hold up things in them heart. Vex. All kind of little issues. So that even the smallest little thing creates a grievance. But we cannot dismiss how you and say, I'm going to fix it. I will take care of it. Because that's all populism is. Taking advantage of grievance. So, it is important that on this platform, I communicate to you, not just the good people here of Northwest Center, but to all of Jamaica, that the Jamaica Labour Party understands and we care. And where we can do better, we will do better in your interests. And as your leader, I'm going to ensure that our representatives give a higher standard of service. Now, I hate to say that, I've been here long enough to see. But the truth is, I started very young. Yes. At 25, I was elected, but I was working in the party long before. And I have seen the party transition and go through many phases and many changes. There was a time when you would look at the Labour Party platform and it would look so orderly, so organized. You wouldn't have a conference so well structured. The party messaging would have been all over the place. Now you're looking at a very structured, a very organized party. It may not necessarily be the case for all constituencies, but you would notice that since last year we have been insisting and pushing the MPs and the caretakers to have their constituency conferences, because it is important that we use the conferences to communicate with you and tell you all the good things that your government is doing. The truth is that good news don't sell. Good news don't sell. So we as Labourites, we have this impression sometimes that the papers must carry all the good things that we are doing. And all the journalists must be on our side and tell our side of the story. And we are puzzled, not understanding that they have no obligation to do that. They are also driven by economic concerns, and sometimes it's the bad news and the negative that sell. So what that means for us, it means that we must gather our public, we must gather our people, we must train our own people to speak on their behalf and tell the good things that they are doing. I was so impressed when your Member of Parliament, Krista Lee, with her broken ankle, decided that she would still take the platform because she had so many good things to tell you. And she listed out all the things that she's doing in her constituency. And as I observed the audience, I was seeing that there were some people who didn't know. There are some people who are hearing for the first time. And that is what we have to do. So all the Labourites who keep calling me and telling me about, You know, we need to get our news out. Look here, man. We have been doing that. We probably won't go through the traditional means. We will go directly to you, the people. Because our show is already on the road. Already on the road. And we are starting first with getting our message to our workers. Yes. Because what our research has shown is that the workers, you know, I shouldn't talk this. No. Come on, I don't want to give too much advice. The workers have no challenge with the government. They understand what the government is doing in managing the economy, in dealing with crime, in dealing with infrastructure, in dealing with health. They understand. Where they have a challenge is on how the representatives address their direct issues. How they are treated when they go to the office. You know, from the response, you know what I'm saying. And these are some of the little things that make people say, "Chuck, you not go vote."
No, can't make me no vote.
We make an assumption. Well, that too. But we make an assumption that everybody who votes is rational. That people are going to vote for all the great things that the government is doing. You know, I'm doing some house to house recently and I met up on a lady and she said, "Prime Minister, we don't have no problem with you, you know. We don't have no quarrel with you. We love you." And she was listing off all the programs and everything. But she said, "You know, me ask you to help with my daughter, we go to university. And they promise me and I know me can't get it." That too. But for her, all the good that we are doing nationally cannot compensate for that little one thing that she wants is for herself and for her daughter. When you look at it, you might say, "But you know, that's not rational, man. That's not right. You have to vote for national issues." But the truth is that we are all voting for prosperity. Yes. And prosperity means different things for different people. For some people, prosperity is that brand new highway that we build. And for other people, it's the pothole that we fix in front of the road. So, as a government and as a political organization, we have to recognize and create this happy balance between what we do nationally, all of these national projects that we are doing that are going to make Jamaica great and better.
Yes, that's true.
We have to now balance that with what we call addressing the pain points that affect you where you live in your community.
Right.
That has to be done. And you will hear me use this term over and over again. The pain points. Whether it is the pothole, the garbage that's not collected as you would have liked it to be collected. I know in this constituency, water is a big pain point. The issues the issues to do with your roadways and your towns congested. All of these are pain points that add to your frustration. And then sometimes when you reflect on them, you can say, why nothing happen? And then from nothing happen, you withdraw and say, me not gonna do nothing. Well, it comes to that point, somebody say, no. Well, let me just put some things on the table. From when I was growing up, all of these pain points existed. There is a generation that is growing up now that is very articulate, well connected on social media, but they don't fully appreciate all that has happened in Jamaica in the last 60 years. They don't fully appreciate it.
They are not welcome here.
They can easily get caught into this whole argument that nothing going and nothing change and the country going in the wrong direction. In other words, people are not always rational in how they consume and analyze and interpret information. In fact, some people don't even bother to go find out. They just take what comes to them. They just take the first thing that somebody tells them. And that can create a wave of ignorance in the society. And in today's world, it is easy to manipulate negative information to create a mood of negativity in the country. It is so dangerous now that many developed countries that embrace freedom of speech, they are the epitome of freedom. They have decided that they have to be very careful how they allow the new technologies and the new medias to control the minds of their citizens, because they can influence the outcome of elections, because people can manipulate them. There is no doubt in my mind that there is a great deal of manipulation taking place. I have called it the battle for your mind. I said to you, the workers of the party, and I said to the general public, you cannot just accept all the information that you see come to you. Test it. Go behind it. Research it. I want to make this point using one example. One of the things that created a great deal of frustration, not just with the workers here, but with the general population, was a movement in food prices between 2021 and 2022. Food prices skyrocketed.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. 50,000.
We didn't cause it. We had nothing to do with it. In fact, we control government economic policy and fiscal policy so well that if we weren't doing it, the price rise would be higher. I'm very sympathetic, very understanding to all the families who have been affected by this rise in food prices, inflation. But it was caused by the pandemic. And it's not just Jamaica that was hit by it, the entire world. If you have friends in Canada, you just ask them about it and they will tell you. Friends in the United Kingdom, they will tell you. Look what happened to the US. Same thing. Food prices. Right? So, if you listen to some people talk, you would believe that it's just today and yesterday inflation take place in Jamaica. If you listen to some people talk, you would believe that it's just under the Jamaica Labour Party that food prices rise, like there has been inflation. But nobody take the time to go and read out it and research it about how the PNP perform with inflation and how the Jamaica Labour Party perform with inflation. In other words, which government manages this business of inflation the best? Let me tell you, if you look at the data from independence to now, from 1962 to 72, average annual inflation under the Jamaica Labour Party government of that time was 4.7%. The world and the US was at 3.3%. That is in 1962 to 1972. In February 72 to October 1980, under the PNP, average annual inflation doubled almost to 8.8%. So under our first government in 1962 to 72, 4.7%. Under the Michael Manley regime, 8.8%, meaning the inflation on average doubled. When we took over again in the 80s, from 1980 to 1989, inflation rose in that period under us to 13.5% average. That was a very difficult time, the 80s. That is when we had the fallout in bauxite, commodity price rise, oil shocks, all kinds of challenges. Inflation rose. When the PNP took it over in 1989 to 2007, their average inflation was 18.5% for their number of years that they ran the country. So it moved from 13.5 under the GLP to 18.5 under the PNP. But that is bad and not too bad. What Jamaicans were experiencing on average during the PNP years, 18.5%. If you lived in the United States, your inflation would only be 2.9%. So that means something right. You want your inflation to just about target your main trading partner's inflation. But ours was way out of whack during that period of time, during that 18.5 years of PNP government. And that is what really destroyed consumer purchasing power. When we took it over in 2007 to December 2011, the average inflation for our years was 12.3%. So we reduced the inflation. When the PNP took it in December 2011 to 2016, they also reduced the inflation to 6.3%. And since we have taken over, we have brought inflation down to on average about 5%. So when you look at inflation in the country, on average, the PNP, whenever they form the government, whenever they have a handle on the economy, inflation is higher, meaning that the rise in the price of most things in the basket of goods that we consume that price rise is higher. In fact, one way to look at it, is that from the independence of the country, and you look at all the years, 31.4 years of the PNP, effectively, they increased the consumer price index cumulatively by 6,186.6%. 6,000% cumulatively. Whilst for the 30 years that we have led the country, we have added 1,033.9% to the inflation index. So when people are talking without the facts, without the knowledge, without doing the research, the PNP cannot compare to the Jamaica Labour Party in managing the rise in the price of goods and services. They can't compare. We always, historically and will always in the future, do a better job in managing the rise in prices. And we have always had far more difficult circumstances to deal with than the PNP. Did they ever have a pandemic?
No.
And we have a pandemic that we have to deal with. They don't go through the amount of storm that we go through in the last 8 years that we have been here. Almost every year we have a weather event.
Them now want to hear that tonight, Prime Minister.
You know, I was looking at a video coming down here with boulders that fell from the gorge. No little boulder, they even call them the boulders. Huge! Like a part of the hill just come down. And all around Jamaica we're seeing landslides, roads collapsing. They didn't have that crisis to deal with. So yes, I listen to the radio and I hear people quarreling about the roads, and I would want every Jamaican to appreciate that we are in a different time. Yes, some of the road is bad work that causing. Yes, some of it is poor engineering, poor material. Yes, not arguing that point. But there is a bigger point that every Jamaican citizen has to put in their consciousness. And that is, one, our infrastructure is aging. Every road, every bridge, every culvert, every gully, all reach its useful life. Secondly, because of poor government management of the economy, previous governments never had the resources to invest in the maintenance of our infrastructure. So it reached a point now where it's just about collapsing. And thirdly, we now have this emerging phenomenon of climate change. Just think back, in the last 8 years, can you recall the weather ever being
Never.
as it has been now?
Never.
First of all, nobody can tell me that the time is hotter. And the truth is, the data shows that the time is hot. We are getting rain in more frequent bouts with greater intensity, sometimes out of season, and the pattern is changing. We used to get more rain in the northeastern end of the island. We are seeing more rain in the northwestern end of the island. We are seeing the weather having an impact on the infrastructure. So what will government do? This is a real emerging problem that I am very much concerned that you can't leave them kind of problem here for the PMP to deal with. They can't deal with that. They can't manage them kind of crisis. And the reason why they can't manage these kinds of crises is that they don't manage the economy well. Because it is the economy that is going to give us the ability to deal with your roadway, to deal with your bridge. On Friday, I went to open, well not open, but to observe works being done on the Troy Bridge. How many of you know the Troy Bridge or heard about the Troy Bridge? Yes, in Sudan. That bridge collapsed. That bridge was built in 1869, 155 years ago. Imagine that. Yes. It lasted that long. River come down one time after a tropical storm and washed the bridge. We have to find $230 million to replace that bridge. Where would that money come from? 10 years ago, what would have happened to that bridge? It would have just gone and replaced. Or they would have gone to an international financial institution and borrowed the money. What has happened now? The government used its own resources to replace the bridge.
Yes, sir.
The different details than it was before. So yes, road ban. Yes, go you want fix. Yes, you want to collect the garbage, but don't talk foolishness.
True, sir.
It don't come with a snap of the finger. It never happened yesterday.
Can't overnight, sir. Take your time.
And it's going to take some time to do it right. And that is what this administration has been doing. We have been doing it the right way. So yes, the road ban.
We are waiting.
But for the first time in our history, we can take up $40 billion and put on road repairs. $40 billion, never happened before.
Yes, sir.
Each MP will be able to fix between 5 and 10 roads in their constituency. It's just a start. The average constituency have over 100 roads and probably 50% of them in a bad state of disrepair. It's going to take time, but we have started the process of reversing the deterioration and failure of our aging infrastructure. We have started that process. When you go to the southwestern end of the island, when you're driving through St. Thomas, lovely new road going around. In this parish, we're going to be doing 2 massive road improvement projects. Out by Priory, where you always have this terrible
Traffic. Yeah, they fix it, Mike. Fix it with Prime Minister Mike.
Technician. Come on, technician. Come
Very
on, come on.
important message you have to get now, you know.
When people are
Very important
we
one.
go to Dunbar, figure out it.
10 beaters for Jamaica. Boosting education, we will succeed. Work and life, Holness uniting the state.
Why, you know, that's all.
Come on, I'm not playing the Prime Minister about this, you know.
JLP